U.S. President Donald Trump is set to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing on May 14th and 15th, with trade, Taiwan, Iran, and North Korea potentially featuring in their talks. Now, the summit comes after a year and a half of renewed volatility in U.S.-China ties and efforts by both sides to stabilize the relationship. For more, our correspondent Oh Soo-young joins us in the studio. Welcome back, Soo-young.
Hi, Tammy.
So, Soo-young, this is, of course, a highly anticipated summit amid the ongoing rivalry and also tension between the two sides. Now, first, what are the two leaders hoping to achieve this time?
Well, it looks like both sides are looking for stability, Tammy. So when Presidents Trump and Xi met last October in Busan, well, they agreed to a limited trade truce in which Beijing would maintain rare earth exports to the U.S. for about 12 months, while Washington reduced some tariffs and paused additional trade measures. But time is running out on that agreement, of course. So experts believe that the two sides are expected to discuss extending that truce and setting up new trade and investment committees to manage future disputes more regularly.
So I think the most important thing that people would like to see, I think, is some degree of stability in the U.S.-China relationship. For both the United States, for China, for countries like South Korea, it's just been so erratic and variable over the first year and a half of the Trump administration. Tariffs, critical mineral cutoffs by China. Nobody wants to see this anymore. People want to see if we can at least buy a year of predictability and stability.
The summit's shaping up to be heavily business-focused as well. NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, Elon Musk, Apple's Tim Cook, and Boeing's Kelly Ortberg are expected to join Trump's delegation, with possible deals including aircraft, agriculture, and energy.
Now, Soo-young, on top of trade, there are quite a few sensitive issues. How would they be navigated?
Yes, there definitely are a number of hot-button issues, Taiwan, of course, being the most politically charged. So, of course, Beijing has long opposed, it's long regarded Taiwan as part of China and opposes growing U.S. military support for the island, while Washington has continued arms sales and deeper security cooperation with Taipei. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi recently warned U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio that Taiwan remains the biggest risk in bilateral relations. Trump has meanwhile said that he expects to discuss U.S. arms sales to Taiwan directly with Xi Jinping. Now, there's also been growing concern in Washington that Beijing could push for softer U.S. language on Taiwan in exchange for economic concessions. However, experts, including Dr. Cha, say that might not necessarily be the case.
I really don't think that that is a likely outcome. China is looking for a degree of stability coming out of this and predictability, at least for a year coming out of this. And so the last thing they want to do is try to pull a fast one on Trump that he would then get mad at, and then we'd be in another cycle of tariffs and retaliations.
Iran, of course, is another item. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has said that the two leaders will discuss the Iran war and urge China to help reopen the Strait of Hormuz to international shipping. Beijing, meanwhile, it seems quite keen to demonstrate that it can play a diplomatic role on Iran, while potentially using the issue to strengthen its leverage in negotiations over Taiwan and perhaps broader US-China tensions. Now, US and Chinese media have described the negotiations as a possible exchange between Washington's so-called 5 Bs, that's Boeing aircraft, beef and beans, or rather soybeans, board of investment and board of trade mechanisms, with Beijing's 3 Ts, which are Taiwan, tariffs and technology.
So 5 Bs for the U.S. and 3 Ts for China.
5 Bs, 3 Ts.
And finally, there's speculation that Trump may consult with Xi over potential North Korea engagement. Tell us more about that speculation.
Right, like you said, there's been a large amount of expectation that North Korea will come up as part of their discussions. It looks likely, but it's probable that it's not going to be the focal point of the leaders' discussions. Some former US officials, including former Deputy Secretary of State Kurt Campbell, have said that Trump could ask Xi for some advice on engaging Kim Jong-un, but others such as Dr. Victor Cha, they argue that Beijing may be more worried than supportive of direct talks between Kim and Trump. He points to Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi's visit to Pyongyang in early April.
I think the fact that Wang Yi went to North Korea is a sign that the Chinese are concerned that the United States and DPRK may be talking separately about meeting again. Because if we look back to Trump 1, China may have played a role initially, but after the United States established a direct communication channel with North Korea, China was completely cut out.
Reflecting on the previous summits between Kim and Trump, Cha says China increased its own summit diplomacy with Kim Jong-un to keep track of developments and shape Pyongyang's behavior. The prospects of Kim-Trump diplomacy do appear rather likely, though, according to Cha and other former US officials that we've spoken to as Arirang, given that President Trump is eager to have a foreign policy success before the November midterm elections. But will a summit in Beijing make or break such prospects? It seems rather unlikely that this will be the venue for a breakthrough, given all the other agenda items that he needs to discuss with Xi Jinping.
Right. Well, the two leaders will have a lot to discuss and to get through this time. Let's see what emerges from the summit. Soo-young, thanks for the coverage.
Lovely to be with you, Tammy.